Hello, everyone. My name is Ray.
And my name is MJ, and welcome back or welcome to our podcast. Today we will be discussing Penthouse Season 3, Episode 7. We'll be doing a quick recap and then stating our predictions for Episode 8.
Yep, let's get into it. So the episode started with Shim Saran meeting with a high-ranked educator who's enemies with Minister Kong.
And Minister Kong is the guy that Judante and his men are trying to bribe in order to get the prestigious schools onto the land that they're trying.
Into the Cheongsu district.
Yes. And you can see here in the background that Shim Soo-nam put up like video footage of them all, partying and stuff like that. And here Shim Soo-dan is basically trying to get this woman to be on her side. So the district, the prestigious schools don't actually go there because then it will benefit Judante and his men instead.
His prime motive to move the prestigious schools is if the prestigious schools are in a different district, then more parents are going to want to move to that district, which will increase sales.
Yeah. And then we also find out that Logan Lee still is conscious, but still hasn't waken up yet. And we also find out here that
Dr. Ha wants to give a different medication from an outside source, but Cho Soo-jin is not allowing that to happen.
And then Dr. Ha ends up thinking that the person who, is talking to him is actually Jidante instead of Cho Soo-jin because she used the same wording that he had said to Jidante before to show his, submissiveness.
And loyalty. That's how, he got into Jidante's trust back. Trust again.
Yes. And then the episode just goes on to show Jidante and his men bribing other people to secure assets and stuff for the land. And then it also shows Shim Soo-dan and Jenny's mom, again, like going against the men and getting them to sign contracts. So they kind of like stop
they
the
make
contract.
an oath not to work with Judante.
Stop the contract that they have with Judante. And then we also find out that Sokona is leaving for Italy, which later we also find out where she actually is going. But for this scene, she calls her brother and tells her, and in my opinion, I think Sokon kind of reacted a bit harshly on her because he got angry at her, which showed how much he cared about his sister, but then he refused to go see her. And I get he's mad at her, but then he stated that he doesn't care if she's living or dead. And I thought that was a bit harsh considering like in the first and second season, he was like ride or die for his sister.
Yeah, very, very, very close. And I think at this point, she really did miss her brother too. She just wanted someone, she kind of got betrayed by her father. She feels like her mom, especially because she thinks that Shimsuran is not her biological mom. She's getting treated differently. And now her brother is, kind of getting in they have a distance between them. She kind of feels like she's very alone.
Yeah, and I feel really bad for her.
Me too.
Yeah. And then we also see Sokun telling Shim Soo-dan, and I kind of expected more from her reaction too. She questioned like where she was going, which school and stuff, but she didn't bother going to the airport because especially like he said that she was going there right now. Yeah. They don't know her flight number or time, but she could have gone to the airport, possibly seen her.
Or called Dante.
Or called her daughter. Yeah, and be like, why are you sending her away? But she didn't do any of that. Which I was disappointed in her in, but and in the scene, she also tells Sokun that Jidante might have been the cause of Woo Yoon-hee's death. Therefore, she suggests him to break up with Berona because it would be hard on the both of them. And then we find out Dr. Ha is trying to reach out to Shim Soo-dan in order to tell her that Logan is alive, and we're assuming like get some help from her because the person who is controlling him, we know is Cho Soo-jin, is not allowing him to use any other medication that would get him at a much stable condition faster.
Mhm.
And then Cho Sejin obviously finds out about this,
Mhm.
and she blackmails him again with his daughter and states that um, if you continue to go against me, you will never see your daughter again, or I'll hurt your daughter. And he thinks it's still Judante, so he doesn't know it's Cho Sejin. We also find out that Judante goes to visit Shim Soidan and tells her to clear up the lot, clear up the furniture store she has. And we also find out here that this lot is actually somewhat meaningful to him. And there's actually a reason why he keeps coming back to this land instead of the other areas in the district or surrounding area.
Yeah, this scene foreshadowed another scene that's upcoming.
Yeah, because he specifically states, "Go ask your dead father."
Mhm.
And then we find out that Cho So-jin's friend, who is Clark,
Yeah, he's a world-renowned composer, Clark Lee.
he is coming to Korea, and she wants her daughter, Eunbil, to audition in front
It's
of
like
him.
a fake audition.
Yeah, so he can see her talents and be like, wow.
And take her talent to an international level.
So she's preparing her daughter for that. Meanwhile, Judante is trying to convince all of these, I guess you could say like officials, to invest in the plan he has and the idea for this whole district he's planning on building. And Cho So-jin meets with Clark. They have a whole interview process, and this is when Eunbil is supposed to be doing her audition. Like after the interview, she's supposed to be singing like backstage, and that's where she'll get recognized. But then instead of Eunbil, we actually see that it is Verona who is singing, which is kind of a twist that even Cho So-jin doesn't see coming. And here, since Clark loved her voice so much, he actually tells Cho So-jin to allow her to audition since she is not.
Yeah, he completely fell in love with her voice and adores her. So I think he might be her biggest supporter in the upcoming audition.
And then we also see that Clark actually came to Korea because of Shim Soo-dan.
True.
And she actually asks him for a favor here, and we have a prediction on what that favor could be.
But yeah, I think we just discussed it now because the topic came up. I think she, at first, Shimsrak has always been very lawful, but in this season, she hasn't trusted the law as much. So she might either ask the composer to be fair or kind of nudge so that Verona wins the competition. I think it's going to be either one of the two. More likely the second one, but
yeah. And then this is obviously where we can connect the dots and see it was from Shim Soo-dan or from Jenny, where Verona found out he was coming, and then Eunbil was planning to audition, so she was able to go and kind of sabotage Eunbil's audition. And then we also see Verona meeting with Miss Jin, and she finds out that Miss Jin is carrying medication to give to Eunbil. She picks up some that she dropped and takes it to Shim Soo-dan to see if she can get it tested, what kind of medication it is. We find out that Eunbil is still very dependent on this medication, and it causes her to even have like a bad reaction, and she faints and has amnesia for like a couple of seconds. She doesn't remember anything.
Memory loss, I think.
She doesn't remember anything. Hopefully she's okay, because I feel kind of bad for her too, though. Like she's consuming so much medication that she's so reliant on it, and her mom doesn't even notice. Hopefully she doesn't do something drastic under the influence of these medications.
Well, yeah, she said that before she got her meds today, she couldn't study or focus the entire day. And she got a low supply this time, so we don't know if this is going to affect her audition, next week.
Fair point. And then this is when Sok-hoon officially finds out that his father was behind the cause of Uyun-hee's death or somehow related to it. So this is like a turning point for him, and he feels kind of disgusted with his father, and he's like,
And discussed by himself too.
yeah, because he is the son of his father. So he kind of like comes to terms and makes a decision to kind of like work with his father and be under him, like constantly watching him to figure out what his father's doing. And then I think he like makes a decision here to finally break it off with Berona for her sake, so she doesn't get hurt. Um, and then we also see the real Gigante meeting with Logan Lee's family, and this is when we find out he's actually two-timing them. He is pretending to actually look for Logan Lee and pretend that he cares when we actually know that he knows Logan's alive, and that he's just keeping him alive and like hidden for a longer time so we can get more money from them. And he goes and discusses this with Cho Seo Jin, and we find out that the whole motive behind keeping Logan alive is so they can receive money from Logan's father, James, I think. James. So they can receive money from Logan's father and they can split it. That's why they're trying to, hinder him getting better a little bit so they can get more money in the process.
I think they build up this relationship up so much that I was expecting something a little bit bigger, but it kind of just seems like it's all about money.
Yeah, me too. I thought there was going to be like a plot of them getting money and then like using his secret to take down Judante or something, but it just seems like they're just focused on Logan's fortune.
But it's very unlike Cho Seo-jin. So maybe his motives might be money, but her motives may be something else.
She might be planning something against him. Maybe. And then we also find out Judante's whole district plan and everything fails, and he basically becomes bankrupt, loses all his money. So he goes to the woman that Jenny's mom looks up to and asks her for $100 million loan. And we find out she's obviously teamed up with Shim Soo-dan, so like the money is coming from Shim Soo-dan, and they have a plan that if Judante doesn't pay his loan back, that Shim Soo-dan will take the penthouse.
That's their plan after all, yes.
Because she said it was as collateral. And then Judante finally meets with the lobbyist of
Dohei
Constructions, and he finds out it's Shim Soo-dan, which completely shocks him. They have like a huge argument, and Shim Soo-dan knocks him out unconscious. And then we find out about Judante's past.
Yeah.
We find out that Lot 27, the one he is so obsessed with, was actually his old home, like the land that his old home was on, and that it was taken from him very wrongfully by Shim Soo-dan's father's company.
Now we don't know if it was her father who ordered the the bulldozing, the demolishment of the land, but it was definitely his company.
I think her father doesn't know, because in the episode, one of the guys that was there said, "Don't say anything about this to the chairman." So I think he doesn't know, they're keeping it a secret, but Judante is still holding a grudge.
And of course, he was also a little boy and didn't hear this part. The only thing he knows is that this was the company who did it, and the company owner, the chairman, was this person.
Yeah. And his mom and sister died because of it. And this scene really shows like why Judante is this way. Like I felt very bad for him watching this, and I was like, it makes sense. It makes sense why he's so crazy. Like his whole family basically died in front of him wrongfully.
And every little thing about him, finally made sense too. Whenever he got blood on his face, he would freak out. Now we know that his mom died right in front of him, and she touched his face, which that's how he got blood on his face. I think he'll always remember that. Second, she always said, well, she didn't always say. She said before she died, "I want you to be rich and live a wealthy life," and that's why he's always after money, I guess.
To fulfill his mom's wishes. Yeah, and then we find out it is actually the lot that Shim Soo-dan's father had given to Haini. We still haven't seen her this episode. And then there's this scene where Shinseijun is basically trying to run over Judente, possibly to scare him to get him to confess that he did kill Logan and Uyuni. But then her son intervenes in the middle of it, takes him away. And I think at this point, Judente is kind of convinced that his son is on his side again, because he's like, oh, I'm still your father. I thought you hated me, but I guess, since we're blood related, you can't hate me. And then this is when Sokun makes a promise, like a deal with his father, that he will join Judante's company and work with him if he doesn't hurt Shimsudan.
Yes.
So he's protecting his mom. Then we see the breakup scene that I know a lot of people hated watching.
Yeah, so very upsetting, especially after everything they've been through. But it was nice to see that even though Verona is very brokenhearted, she kind of understood him. She said we can't choose our parents. I think she knew where he was coming from.
Yeah. She seems upset over losing him, but she doesn't seem angry at him.
Yeah.
And then she gets a call, Verona gets a call, and it's about her mother's watch. So this guy found her mother's watch during the construction near the cliff where Woo Yoon-hee died. And on the watch is actually a recording that Woo Yoon-hee had made to Shim Soo-yeon, and that was when she revealed that Sokuna is Min Sola's daughter. So Shim Soo-yeon finally finds out in this episode, and I wish you got to see more of her reaction, but I'm guessing that's for the next episode. But I'm so glad that Woo Yoon-hee actually made a recording. I didn't think of that.
But then this also raised the question, what else did she record? Did she record Cho Soo-jin's voice?
That is true.
Like, did she record Judante's voice? Like, who else, is involved in that recording?
Yeah. Can it be used as evidence? And then one of the last scenes is we find out Sokuna is not in Italy. She is in like some sort of like a detention camp or like a disciplinary camp or something. And I feel really bad for her. I feel like I wish we saw more of her this episode and last episode. But she seems like she's just being like pushed away by Judante and her whole family basically. And I feel really bad for her. She seems very like vulnerable and like very, very confused at this point.
Yes.
And then the episode ends off with Logan waking up, and I think the first thing he said was, "Bring me Shim Soo-yeon." So he's obviously terrified too. But yeah, it was a great episode. I really enjoyed it. It gave a lot of answers to our questions.
And not just for this season, but like all 3 seasons, they revealed some secrets from the first and second, and everything kind of connected very nicely.
Yeah. Very excited for the next episode. Now on to our predictions.
Yep. Get started. So episode 8. What do you think is gonna happen?
Okay, so in the little snippets that they showed us in the little trailer, we see that they will be having the audition, as they've all been talking about, and it's more of like a unique audition. They're all dressed in like costumes. Maybe it's to see how they interact with other people and how they get into the role. But it seems like a very unique audition.
I also found it interesting that, do you know how they're kind of wearing, what would you call that? Like their outfits?
Like kind Marie Antoinette.
Yeah. Kind of royalty-like. And in the first season, the day that Min Sola died, they hosted a party and they dressed up like this too.
Oh yeah, that is
There's
very
so many parallels.
That is very true. And then in the next snippet, we also see Eunbil crying. And in this one, we can see, like, we assume she's crying because I think she remembers.
Yeah, do you think she got her memory back?
Because we also see like a little snippet of Dr. Ha telling his daughter, you have to remember, like think back what happened during that night and try to remember. And then we also see a little snippet where it says, oh, so you want to tell everybody what happened the actual night when he died. So I think she remembers, and she's probably going to go to her mom and be in hysterics again, like she was when she first woke up after that incident. And she's gonna try to tell everyone, and that might also affect her audition too, if it's before her audition.
Now she might react differently though, because when she woke up the first time in the hospital a few episodes ago, she, Better was very nice to her. She didn't have anything. She didn't have anyone. And she saw the death of someone who was trying to help her. But now she has everything. She's going to a really good school. Her mom is beside her, and her life is kind of set up for her. So I don't know if we're gonna get a different reaction. Maybe even if she knows what happened, she's gonna keep it a secret.
I think she's gonna try to keep it a secret, but like based on the past few episodes and the past few seasons, whenever she tries to keep something a secret, it haunts her. Like to the point where she does kind of go crazy. And especially under the influence of the medication she's taking now, it might affect her even more. It might like heighten her reactions. Yeah, I guess we'll have to see. And then in another snippet, we see well, it's just a photo of Sokun, but in here we are assuming that he's working with his father, like he said in the last episode, and
he said this line, "I have to be a devil to face a devil." So I think he's going to, he's trying to help his father, but he's actually on Verona and his mom's side. So I think he wants to take down Dante himself.
But try to not make it obvious.
Because Dante wouldn't expect his own blood to go after him, because he's very what do you call that? He's very stubborn, I guess, about that thing. Like if they're blood related, they can't
like
do
family
any harm.
oriented.
Yeah.
Something
about like being adopted or something about not being blood related kind of triggers him.
That is true. And then in another little snippet, we also get another photo of Logan, and we assume he's like talking by now because we hear his voice throughout this little trailer. But then we also see Cho So-jin inject something into his medication, and we have a few theories of what she could be injecting.
It could be something to make him talk even more. So she knows, like, when he died, he saw Dante in the back, dressed as an old guy. So it could be like a witness statement, or
it could be a drug to make him not talk. So he doesn't reveal Dante and like Cho So-jin keeping him here and everything. So he doesn't spoil her plan. So it could be either of the two. But he does seem to be talking and awake and responsive in the next episode. And we might possibly see him being reunited with his family. Yes, maybe. Or with Shim So-yeon. In the next episode, in the next little snippet, we also see, I think this is the real Dante, holding a photo of Logan and Dr. Ha. And we even hear his voice. So we hear his voice, or a voice that sounds similar to his, and we have a theory that it might actually be
Alex Lee. His brother might be back. Because it's kind of unrealistic for, Logan just to get up and start walking. And the specific quote was, "You remember me?" And it was definitely Logan's voice, but it could
with a little bit more of an accent.
Yeah, so I think Alex might be back.
Possibly. And then the snippet ends off with footage of Shim So-yeon trying to, like, I guess, get to her daughter. It seems like she's trying to get to her daughter, fighting against all these people and trying to find her. And then we have another little photo of Sakuna in that center where she is now. And it seems like she's ripping up like a poster or a photo. And we have a theory it could quite possibly be one of those like wanted photos of Mr. Beck. Yeah. Mr. Beck during his time when he was in Japan, when he was wanted for committing, a crime for killing the real Dante's family. So they could be making fun of her for that, and she could be like under a lot of pressure and stress from that, finding out her father's murder.
I actually think that we might see another death in the next episode. I think Dante might kill Sukuna. just because there's so many parallels between, they're twins. Now we know they're twins. So I think I'm kind of seeing parallels between Minsola's death and her death, well, her possible death. Because, before she died, she was tormented by people of her age.
That is true.
And now she's getting bullied in this camp or, school. So that's one parallel. Second, both of them called their brothers, person they trusted most before they died. And Sokuna didn't want to talk to her anymore. But Logan Lee, Minsola's brother, couldn't talk to her. So that could also be another parallel.
That is true. It's a good point.
And something about Penthouse, they don't want secrets revealed. So it seems like now that Shimsuran knows, they wouldn't want Sokuna to know.
Yeah, so they're gonna get rid of her before she knows. Yeah. Basically, they're all trying to find. Well, Shimsuran is trying to find Sokuna. It seems like in the next episode, while Juzente is going to try to possibly, kill her. And it seems like he also wants to get rid of Shimsuran forever. So we might see two deaths, maybe. One. Because now that, again, Logan's alive, he might not make it to see Shimsuran alive.
Sure.
So we'll see.
We'll find out next episode.
Thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed. There won't be a video next week because of the Olympics. They won't be releasing a new episode, but I hope you join us 2 weeks from now to see episode 8, the recap, and our predictions for episode 9. We hope you enjoyed. If you liked, subscribe, hit the thumbs up button, and write something in the comments. We want to hear your predictions.
Thank you.
Bye.